Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki, Rachel, and Rhonda, certified clinical aromatherapists coming to you from Ontario, Canada, and on the internet everywhere.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. Essentria is your go-to source for clinical aromatherapy certification programs that are recognized by NAHA and the Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists.
If you want to learn more about Aroma Massage course, check out their website, www.schoolofessentria.com. We're excited that you've given your time to be here with us, knowing you'll get the best essential oil scoop. Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. Nikki Fraser here with Jirbie Go, and I'm very excited to have Jirbie on the podcast today. Jirbie became a certified aromatherapist in 2019, is a certified aromatherapy teacher, has publications in multiple international aromatherapy journals, is a proud member of the International Clinical Aromatherapy Network, ICAN, is a board member of the Philippine representative for the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, AIA, founder of the Alliance of the Philippine Aromatherapists, APA, and founder of the Aromatherapy Institute of the Philippines. That is all absolutely amazing. You are a great pioneer when it comes to aromatherapy in the Philippines. And I'm sure I'm missing a few other amazing accomplishments that you have in there also. But I am so happy to have you here on the podcast with us. So welcome to Vetiver Vibes.
It's my pleasure to be with you, Nikki. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and in today's episode, really going to look at, what does aromatherapy look like in the Philippines? Aromatherapy is worldwide. And it's really important that we are looking at other countries, us being in Canada, you're in the Philippines, but every country has its own little twist, their own maybe regulations or how they use it, or even just the vibe around certain things. So it's always really nice to see what other places around the world are doing. So one thing we always like to start to ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite oil?
Well, it changes from time to time. I'm sure you've heard this from
Yes.
other guests. Right now, I'm very much into, I would say, fir needle.
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like the freshness. I like the tinge of sweetness, but not too much. I like the freshness that it brings. Um, yeah, I think it's a good oil, especially when it's transitioning to summer. I think it's already summer in the Philippines. So when you need something to cool you down but not so much, add a little freshness because in the Philippines it's so humid here. Fir needle is just the best oil for me right now.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, it's really warm here too. And I always like to use those oils. I mean, I love forest bathing. So anything that smells that woodsy tree aroma, I love, especially more so wintertime when I can't do forest bathing. I'm like, okay, I can just
Yeah.
pretend when I'm in my house. But I love using it also, like, yeah, just to bring in that tree to make it feel like I'm closer to the
You're still
trees.
outside. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That is great. So I'd love to know, how did you get into aromatherapy?
Well, it started, I think, in 2016 or 17. I started rescuing animals in 2014. So before becoming an aromatherapist, I still am. I became an animal rescuer, and I primarily rescue stray cats. So it came to a point where I developed asthma symptoms because of the quantity of my cats. Although all of them are fixed, we're a very responsible rescuer here. We have them all fixed. It's just that my lungs are really screaming for help. And for a time there, I was very, very dependent on antihistamines. I've been popping it every single day. And it's not long for me to realize that it's going to be hitting hard on my liver and kidney. Anything we put on our bodies or in our bodies would definitely hit our kidney eventually. So I tried to look for ways to support myself holistically, and that is how I found out about essential oils. I remember my first few bottles of oils were lavender, lemon, and peppermint. And I was so excited to get hold of those three oils. During those times, it was 2017, I think. You can you can't really purchase oils from within our country. So we had to import it from abroad, from the US primarily. And so when I got my first order, I was so excited and tried it out. And I was so mind blown, literally mind blown. When I took my first whiff of the blend, I mixed all three and put it in my diffuser. I was relieved in a matter of seconds. And I was just shocked. How could this be? um, and then I did that for a few more days. And I realized, oh, I don't really have to pop antihistamines anymore because these oils can actually manage my allergies, at least at that time. And it got me hooked. It got me further into the rabbit hole. So
Mhm.
I purchased more oils. I was a YouTuber then as well, so I did a few content about essential oils. And then I realized people started sending me questions about oils. And then that is, I think, the tipping point for me to actually pursue aromatherapy as a professional. So when I started getting a lot of questions about essential oils and its usage and its safety, and I realized I can't be Googling every time somebody asks me a question. So it prompted me to search for a school, a reputable school to enroll myself with, formally to take formal studies about aromatherapy.
Yeah. And Google isn't always the most accurate.
Correct.
I remember back in 2017 and 18 and 16 and all of those years, seeing some very scary
Correct.
information online
Correct.
also. And it's like, who do you know to
Who
believe,
to
to
trust.
follow, to
Right.
trust? Exactly.
Yeah. And at that
So,
time, one of the MLM groups, companies rather, were very, I would say, persistent in entering the Philippine market. And so,
okay.
I was also, I stumbled upon some of their events and I attended some of their. So there were a lot of conflicting information that
Mhm.
it put me in a space where, okay, who am I to believe? Google, this group, this post, this website? There are also other aromatherapists online giving free information.
Mhm.
So there were just a lot of information, and so that really prompted me to enroll myself in a formal school. To at least I'd have my own certification, I'd have my own credible source of information, and also,
Exactly.
of course, I purchased books, and that is how it all began.
Oh, that's so amazing. Now, I feel like we are going to get this question or some comments quite a bit because it's always a very touchy one. So, do you get a lot of questions about essential oils and cats? Because I know you were a big cat rescuer. So, and also before you get to, so how many cats are you up to? I know you have quite a few. Are you comfortable sharing the number?
Yes, I have over 55 cats here in
Wow,
our
that's
home. Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah. That's amazing. But like you said, you're a responsible cat rescuer also.
Correct.
So, and you really want to make sure that you are taking care of the cats. You're, taking them off the streets, making sure that
Correct.
I don't know if you guys have the prices right where you're at, but I always remember hearing the Bob Barker of like, don't forget to spade and neuter your
Yes.
animals, and it was always about the cat population and all of that. And so
Correct.
you're being a very responsible cat rescuer, which is great,
Correct.
and I'm sure many people appreciate it. But cat and essential oils is a very controversial topic. And I don't want to dive deep into that because that's not what we're here for today. But is that something that you come across a lot? Did you have concerns with that?
Yes, so I have been an animal rescuer for almost a decade now, and I have been an aromatherapist for about 5 years now. And since last year, or 2 years ago, I started studying or having a more specialized education on animal aromatherapy. It's because, of course, it's inevitable for people to ask me about tips on aromatherapy, what to use around cats, because people know me as the cat lady here. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of my priority education to learn more about animal aromatherapy. Also, I've really lately I've gone deeper into holistic oncology. So I also
Mhm.
learn a lot about essential oils and cancer management. Yeah, so those are the two niche that I'm pretty much focusing on.
Amazing. Yeah, and I know we always get some people who are very scared of using essential oils around their animals.
Yeah,
And there's, things you do have to take into consideration, absolutely. But,
correct,
just be a responsible aromatherapist, do proper research. And typically, as
correct,
long as, you allow the animals to have choice to be around the aromatherapy, the essential oils, being able to leave,
correct.
all of that are like main big things to be
Correct.
following.
To make
So
sure that whenever you're diffusing around pets, whether cats or small breed dogs or small animals for that matter, make sure that you have a well ventilated room. The doors open for them to step out if in case it gets too overwhelming for them. Make sure not to diffuse beside your bird or beside an
okay.
aquarium. Please don't do that. So there are a lot of top level precaution that you should know, and then as you go deeper, you
Mm,
learn in a way to understand and interpret the
mhm.
reaction of your pet around the oils. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of things that we think should be common sense apparently aren't. So it's
Yes.
always important to, share the things that some of us might think are common sense, because some people, just might not think of those
Correct.
simple things of you don't put the diffuser beside your birds and aquariums where they can't escape. Like that's impossible for
Correct.
them. And so absolutely.
Correct.
Thanks for that little sidetrack of animal and aromatherapy. So now to dive deep into what we are talking about today. So, what does aromatherapy in the Philippines look like?
Well, we're still in a very, very infant stage. Aromatherapy is very new here. A lot of the micro distillers or the distilling companies started in the past 5 years, I would say. A lot of them mushroomed over the pandemic, apparently. So that's really fun. I was fortunate enough to get to know a handful of them in the past 2 years. And that is why I guess it also gave me the chance to speak more about them, because a lot of them are new, a lot of them are doing a lot of interesting and amazing things, like the Ilang Ilang distiller that I talk so much about. And then we have Ilang Ilang hydrosol here. Not I heard from Rhiannon that the French or Comoros region, they don't really produce ilang-ilang hydrosol. And so I think during that time, the Philippines was the first. But I know now when I search on Google, I see other companies carrying ilang-ilang hydrosol now. But when I started talking about it a year ago or a year and a half ago, it was the Philippines who first produced it. So that's really cool. We also have LME hydrosol here. We have two kinds of LME here. We have a lot of interesting things here. But I also keep in touch with other international brands just to make myself updated and kept abreast with what's latest on the emerging oils produced here and abroad. We have guava leaf oil here. We have so many new interesting oils
Oh,
here
wow.
that I really love sharing with my international audience. So one of my focus as an ambassador for Airmed Institute and even for AIA is to bring forth all of these emerging oils from the Philippines and let the international audience know about it. It's a two-way, I would say it's a two-way benefit. It benefits the Philippines and it also benefits all the aromatherapy students abroad, that that you guys would know that there is such a thing that you can use as part of your aromatherapy modality.
Mhm. Absolutely. Oh, that's so great to see that it is, you know, I want to say booming over there, starting to grow.
Yes.
And the fact that you mentioned the ylang ylang, the hydrosol, hydrolat, both terms are used here interchangeably. I think that is really amazing because I know, myself included, a lot of people, as soon as they use more than 1 or 2 drops, it can actually start to cause a headache. It's just such an
Yes.
it's nice when it's subtle, but it is a very overpowering essential oil. And I'm just picturing this hydrosol having that nice subtle aroma where you could use it and it's not going to cause that headache
Correct.
most likely. So I'm
Correct.
just like, oh, that would be a beautiful one to be able to get.
It's lovely. Where are you in Canada, by the way, Nikki?
We're located in Ontario.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I get the chance, I'll try to send you some or bring you some. Who knows if I get to visit
Ooh,
Ontario. But
ooh.
you should try ilang ilang hydrosol. I'm also very much into botanical skincare formulation. So
Mhm.
I make my own botanical lotion. And whenever I do, I use my hydrosol, ilang ilang hydrosol as my water face. I don't really have to use the oil anymore because the scent of ilang ilang is there subtly and very, I would say, non-intimidating versus
Yeah.
using the oil into the formulation.
Absolutely. And I think that's it because it's a nice aroma, but it's like you said, it's kind of intimidating and overpowering a little bit. And if you just have that subtleness, that would be absolutely amazing. And now I remember seeing posts of you and Melissa from Lemon Balm Coaching, who we had on not long ago also, went on a little adventure. What did you go see for that adventure, if you don't mind talking about that?
Well, um, back in January, I organized this farm visit here in the southern area of um, the Philippines. And At first, I was thinking it's an event that's exclusive for our Philippine students and audience. But then, at the last minute, I was thinking, oh, maybe I could just invite everyone from AIA. And so I did the paperwork and posted on AIA.
Hmm.
And serendipitously, Melissa saw the post and she was like, hey, can I join your farm visit? And I was like, are you kidding me? You don't have to ask permission. Come on. If you can come over here, I'm sure, I'm going to welcome you. So she flew in. That was really a lovely surprise. In 2 weeks, we planned everything, her visit, where she should stay, what's her itinerary, where we should take her. So she was here in the Philippines for about 5 days, I think. And then we took her around from the, I guess, developed cities to the old traditional cities to the farm to the suburb to the city. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it wouldn't be possible if Melissa hadn't thought of messaging me or hadn't thought of actually joining us. So, the invitation is open for everyone who's listening. If you see me or us post about events, it's open for everyone.
That's great. So what was this farm that you guys went and visited?
Oh, we went to this Vitex Nagundo farm. It's called Lagundi in the Philippines. So the plant is one of the top 10 recognized medicinal plant for the Filipinos. It's locally grown here, but I think it's also present in some of the Southeast Asian regions like Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. But here it's recognized by our Department of Health as one of the 10 medicinal plants that is supported by even the medical doctors.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's called Lagundi or Vitex Nagundo. And that plant or that farm is one of the top three producers of the said plant, producing for pharmaceuticals here in the Philippines. So
Okay.
I think they also do exports, but I'm not so sure. But they have all
Mhm.
the FDA paperwork, so it's a really nice and big, well documented farm and plant processing site.
Oh, that's so amazing. And it's nice to see that, it is such a big farm
Hmm.
and the medical community is, it's part of the medical community there.
Correct. Mhm.
We are trying to spread the word about the safe use of aromatherapy to as many people as possible. It only takes 5 seconds to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening to us, and it helps us become more visible. We appreciate your support.
How is aromatherapy part of the medical community there, or is it like here in Canada? A lot of people, I'm not going to say all because it's definitely not all. There is starting to be a shift more to holistic practice, but a lot of people are Western or holistic. And a lot of medical professionals will say, unless they're already in the holistic field, like naturopath doctors, osteopaths, some chiropractors, things like that, they're very much open to it. However, most general practitioners, specialized doctors, a lot of them have closed minds around essential. The amount of times that I've seen doctors or different specialists where I say I'm a holistic practitioner and I use aromatherapy as one of my first lines for defense and to support our family, they look at me like I have three heads. And I've literally been told before, oh no, I'm an old man doctor and I don't believe in any of that. I'm just like, okay, I don't think we're going to mesh moving forward. So what's the vibe over there like?
Similar with what you're saying, when I started with my profession, or I'm also doing a lot of consultations, I felt a lot of resistance
Mm.
from the MDs, even like my batchmates from high school who are doctors. I see the resistance. Um, and so in a lot of ways, it's very similar with Canada. I wouldn't say all. There are a handful of them who would be a little bit more open to using essential oils. But a lot of these MDs are very, they would, they would still have their walls up on
Mhm.
holistic practices, whether it's traditional medicine, whether it's using lagundi for cough. Like a few weeks ago, we had another face-to-face activity for our Filipino students. We did this guided nature walk. So one of our most recent student she's an OBGYN,
Mhm.
and so we were talking about the farm visit that happened last January. And she was like, "Oh, I tried that plant. I tried that brand, that syrup. It, it's not really effective for me." So you can still feel that there are some sort of a divide, or I guess a different way
Mhm.
of thinking, but it's fine. I mean, we have a long way to go, but I'm very hopeful that someday we will be as the Philippine aromatherapy landscape, or the practice at least, would be as seamless or as integrated as how it's happening, I guess, in the UK or in
Mhm.
France.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely amazing. And I know every time we have students who, I mean, we don't know our students' background because our courses are all online and we don't get to know our students quite to that extent. But a lot of times through assignments and just chatting with them, we do on some of them learn some of the backgrounds. And when we've had naturopaths and chiropractors and osteopaths and a lot of nutritionists and those fields of practitioners in our program. And I love seeing those people join us because it's like, yes, they want to integrate the aromatherapy into their practice and they want to integrate it professionally and properly, which is even better. But the fact that they're
Yes.
looking on how to support their clients in different ways is really, really nice. And actually, we've had, I believe, a couple medical doctors. I know one for sure. Also join as students, where it's like, yes,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah, it's
great,
like a little, we always do a little happy dance whenever they
right?
would enroll, right? Because it gives us hope that, that's a goal, to be like France or something.
It is, and just when working with clients, being able to integrate our services with the medical field, because there's a time and a place where the medical field is needed.
Correct.
100%. You know, I think when my son broke his collarbone, that's a trip to the hospital, and that's,
Yes.
you know,
There's
x-ray
no
and a
oil.
sling.
That's
No, I
yeah.
mean, we used essential oils and homeopathics to help with the pain management,
Yeah, but
and the comfort,
the
but that's not
fracture.
going to fix the bone. Like it was
Correct. The fracture.
exactly, like the bone was
Exactly.
literally floating. There was not attached
Oh
on
my
either
God.
side and was floating in his shoulder.
Oh my
It
God.
was horrible to see. But within 2 days, he was actually fine. And within 10 days, he didn't need a sling or anything anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. And he only took over the counter medication for 24 hours. Otherwise, we used essential oils, massaged very gently over it, and homeopathic remedies. And like we continuously asked him, like, how's your pain management? I'm good. I'm like, do you need anything? Nope. Like, okay,
Wow.
this is great. I'm like,
How young was he when
he
it
was
happened?
5.
Oh,
He
okay.
was
Okay.
5.
That's why. Okay.
So yeah. So, and I mean, they do heal way faster
Correct.
at that age versus
Correct.
older. But yeah, we expected more than 24 hours of pain.
Yeah.
Like, I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Still, yeah. Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
like,
Oils really work. I hope the MDs would listen.
right. But it's just being able to integrate the two. And, you know, when a client comes to us and says, you know, I'm seeing my doctor for endometriosis or for, I don't know, a skin condition or who knows what, or chronic pain, and being able, they can take what we're suggesting, what blends we're making for them, bringing that to their doctor, who can then also know what is being used, because it's important that they also know what the client's using.
Correct.
And work together as a partnership. That's like my ultimate goal, is
Yeah,
that
I
we
agree.
have that back and forth.
Yeah, and like just to be able to provide more options for the
Mhm.
patient, I think that's also very good support, especially now. Like right now, I'm taking my clinical aromatherapy certification, and so for my case studies, I'm focusing on, as I've said earlier, I'm focusing on cancer patients.
Mhm.
So I'm very much onto two of my case study participants now. One has stage 3 breast cancer, and one has stage 3 brain cancer. So it's very serious.
Mhm.
But I really wanted to pursue this niche in aromatherapy because I think it's first, it's good for research.
Mhm.
Second, whatever that I'm doing, it's very vital for our documentation as aromatherapists, even if I'm here in the Philippines. But still, it's something to add to our current documentations, right?
Absolutely.
So I work very closely with their oncologists, internists. I make sure to let the client tell their doctors, their MDs, what we're using, what's
Mhm.
exactly in the lotion that I'm providing, or what's exactly in the blend that we're using. And yeah, like what you've said, it's very important for us aromatherapists to work closely with their MDs so that when what's happened to the client is a success, then they can share or relay this quote and unquote treatment plan to their other patients, and maybe
Right.
add more um documentations, because right now that's our struggle as practicing aromatherapists. We lack documentation, we lack
Mhm.
research, we lack numbers and tally and all of these things. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm very hopeful that in my own little way, I add to that research. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that is a very specific niche that needs a lot of attention when it comes to oncology and a lot of things, but
Yeah,
especially the holistic aspect of supporting someone through
correct,
any of that. And
correct.
I
And I
know quite a,
never,
say it again.
sorry, and I never claim, like even to our audience right now, I never claim that oils will cure the cancer per
Right.
se, but we're just providing support client
Exactly.
support, client care support, so that they'd feel better, for their pain management, even for nausea management. Those little things, those are very, even if it's a, even if it's a little thing for us or for other people, it's a big thing for the for the client, for the patient, for the cancer patient. Starting the day without having to vomit is already a big
Right.
win for them. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Absolutely. It's complementary. We're there to support
correct.
beside, as they're going through all of their treatments. And like you said, something I want to say as little as not vomiting, but it's not a little thing. Like that is a huge thing. As I've
Yes,
seen people going through different treatments and being able to, like you said, wake up and not start your day losing what small nutrients you had in your body
correct.
multiple times through the day, being able to lay down and not feel pain
Yes,
constantly. Like all of that then plays on your mind, your hope. Like it has
correct.
a snowball effect. And so if we can just take away some of that discomfort, which then has its snowball effect of bringing in more hope, bringing in more joy, more comfort,
Correct.
being able to enjoy time with their family and loved ones more
Correct.
because they have more energy to do
Yeah.
what they want to do through the day. Like it has such a huge impact of being able to
Correct.
take away. And again, I think those aspects that we can support with. Like you said, it's not going to cure cancer. No one here is ever going to say aromatherapy cures
Correct.
cancer because we know that's not how it
Correct.
is, but it's complementary.
Correct. And as
So,
practitioners, we're not supposed to say that.
yes, exactly. We cannot treat,
Yeah.
diagnose, cure, all the
No.
fun disclaimer things. So absolutely. So that's really amazing that you are diving into that aspect of it. And like you said, the more research that we can come out, even like more case studies that come about with aromatherapy and oncology, then there's just more anecdotal evidence that shows how
Yeah.
amazing it is. And all of that compiled together helps researchers then be able to dive deeper into how aromatherapy can help different different niches, this being oncology
Correct.
or all kinds of other different areas that aromatherapy can help in. So absolutely, that's amazing. So what else is I know you mentioned a few. So you mentioned ylang ylang, elemi, and there was a third
We have
oil.
we have a lot. We have
Or is this
Philippine cinnamon. There's guava leaf. There's Manila copal. I have a lot. But I mostly talk about elemi and ilang ilang because it's what most of you guys outside of the Philippines would relate to. So
okay?
I also travel abroad to talk about these Philippine botanicals. So most recently, just last March, I was in Hong Kong. I was invited by one of the aromatherapy schools there to talk about the Philippine distillation. So I brought in a lot of these botanicals so that the students are able to personally experience them. That was a really
Nice.
fun event, especially after the pandemic. I haven't really had much face to face lectures
Mhm.
for the past 2 years. So that's really nice welcoming back for me to be in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, all of our courses online, but it is when we get to come together face to face, there's just a different vibe and that you
Yeah.
just feed off of each other, which is really, really amazing when you can do that in person aspect. Absolutely. So I didn't realize I knew there was quite a few oils that came from the Philippines, but I didn't think there was that many. So that's like, my mind is blown that there's, that many that are there. That's amazing. And if someone wanted to, because I know you're involved in so many different organizations and you're really pioneering, I feel like a lot of the aromatherapy aspects in the Philippines. If someone is in the Philippines listening or if someone wants to, get in touch and also join you on this aromatherapy journey, what would be the best place for people to reach you and to join that journey?
Oh, so you can search for Couch Wasabi on any platform or on Google. So it's like couch potato, but it's wasabi, one word, and then you'd find me. The reason for that is I've used couch wasabi as the name for over 2 decades now, I think, since 2000, close to 2 decades. Since 2006, I used to blog a lot before, and I've used that so people would know me as Couch Wasabi way, way, way before I was known to rescue animals. So I've stuck to that name. My YouTube channel was also Couch Wasabi. I don't really do YouTube anymore. But yeah, if you want to get to know more about me or what I do, or if you want to ask anything about aromatherapy, or the Philippine Aromatics, just search for Couch Wasabi across all platforms. You can find
Nice.
me for sure.
Nice. Because your podcast was also Couch Wasabi too.
Yes,
I
which I haven't
remember
updated.
yeah, I know. I saw you had stopped doing them a bit ago, and I was like, where are new episodes?
I should get back on that soon.
But we'll have the link for it too, and people can listen to all of your older episodes because you have some great episodes on your podcast.
Thank
Some really
you.
great guests on there, absolutely. But it can be hard to kind of juggle everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and I mean, as I said in your introduction, you're part of a lot of different associations and really helping to grow the industry there, which is really, really great. So before we tune off, any parting words for our listeners?
Well, I would say, um, for all the essential oil enthusiasts, start low and go slow. I think that's a really nice um, tip to remember always. I'm sure when you get your first set of oils, you get so excited and you just want to try everything and all of them at the same time.
Mhm.
Please don't, you know, limit it to maybe 2 to 3 for a start, and then just um, start low and go slow. That's really nice, safe tip for everyone starting with aromatherapy.
Absolutely. No. And I know what you mean. You just want to try them all.
Yeah.
And I always kind of chuckle to myself when one of our assignments for our students, they have mock case studies that they need to create blends for these mock people. And sometimes they go through and they're like, 15 oils in a blend because they're all
Yeah.
really great for anxiety and calming and grounding. I'm like, okay, but you don't need to throw the kitchen sink at the client. It's, pick who's your star, who are your supporting actors, who are accompanying, your star of the blend, and 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, but it's like keep it to
Yeah.
a few things. And the low and
Correct.
slow, we stress that also. So I love it when other people also stress it. There's no reason that you need to start at 5, 10, 15, 20%
Correct.
for a
And
lot of
then you know
things.
what? This is why I think enrolling in a reputable school is important, because just recently, like, one of our students messaged me and she was like, I found this blend from this popular brand of essential oils and I wanted to recreate it with my own oils. So she was like, I wanted to recreate it with my own oils. So she swapped some of the oils to what she had. So apparently she swapped, I think, cypress with tea tree, and she swapped pine with our local Benguet pine. And she was like, but when I tried to recreate the blend, it smelled like rubber. And I was like, oh, that's not really that pleasant, right? And she was, no, it smelled like rubber wheels, rubber. And I was like telling her, you see, this is why it's important for you to go through your module,
Mhm.
because as you go through each chapter one by one, you will have that foundational knowledge to understand a blend.
Mhm.
Why is it, for example, you have a mix of 5 oils. Why is sweet orange there? Why is cypress there? Why is cedarwood there? And then you would decipher what is the more appropriate replacement for example. I think she swapped cedarwood with, I think, elemi. And I was like, you know what? I think it's more fitting to swap cedarwood with, for example, Manila copal or frankincense versus elemi, because elemi would have a more yang vibe into it, a more active vibe into it, versus, for example, Manila copal or frankincense, which has a more yin aspect
Mhm.
into it. Now, all of these things, all of these little intricacies are very important. These are the things that no one could ever find on Google alone. I just want to
Exactly.
stress that out. And that is why, you, if you're really, if your audience or whoever's listening right now is very serious about learning more about essential oils, whether to support yourself, your family, or your loved ones, please highly consider enrolling in a school versus self-learning. There's nothing wrong in self-learning, of course, but there's just so much more value if you put your mind into a credible source of information aside from YouTube or Google or Pinterest for that matter.
And it
Yeah,
takes 1,000 times longer to self-teach yourself a lot of things,
correct.
even when you do find trustworthy, if you're following different schools online and,
Correct.
absorbing all of their tips and tricks and everything. But you're going to
Correct.
spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours trying to get the same information as if you just enroll in a school. It's all laid out from A to Z. Here it is. Go through the modules one at a time. All the
Correct.
information is right there in front of you. You just have to go through it, read it, study it,
Correct.
and absorb it all. There's no
Yeah.
need to jump all over and try and piece together from 10,000
Yeah.
different places.
And how would you know who to believe with all of those information, right? So, yeah, in a way, invest and save all the time and all of those wasted time weeding through all of these conflicting information. I
Exactly.
guess that's the more valuable parting words for our listeners.
Two very good parting words: low and
Yeah.
slow and invest. Those are absolutely great. So I know you mentioned Couch Wasabi is a great place to reach out to you. Is that your website also?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
perfect. And so we'll have your website. And are you on any social media, Instagram, Facebook,
All of it.
TikTok? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Just search for either my name, Jirbie Go, or Couch Wasabi. Even if you search Couch Wasabi on Instagram, it still will appear to be me. So
Awesome. Great. And we'll have all of those links in the show notes so, people can easily find you, connect with you. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Vetiver Vibes. I'm so happy we were able to connect and chat all about aromatherapy in the Philippines.
thank
So
you
thanks.
so much, Nikki.
All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. You can join the free Introduction to Essential Oil course at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think will enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, please go over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and you will be entered into our monthly draw for a free mini course.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply to you directly.